Morning, everyone. Welcome to the September 10th meeting of Henderson County Fiscal Court. We're glad you're with us. Glad to see everybody today. We're going to start, as we always do, with an invocation, and we'll ask Associate Pastor Dylan Zahn of Belfield Baptist Church to come and lead us in prayer. Please stand.
Let's pray together. Father, we thank you, Lord, for another day that you've blessed us with. And we thank you for the great privilege it is to live where we do and to enjoy the freedoms and liberties that we have here. And Father, we pray that we would never take that for granted. And Lord, we know that you are sovereign and that you have placed all of these leaders here today here for a purpose. So we pray that you would grant them mercy as they fulfill their duties to the community. And Lord, ultimately, we just ask your blessing to be upon us this day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Master Southard.
Present.
Master Moran. Present. Master Putman.
Here.
Master Berry. Here. And Master McCollum is absent at this point.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have before you the minutes of the August 27th Henderson County Fiscal Court meeting. After a period of review, I'll entertain a motion to accept those.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other clarifications, corrections, or additions? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting these minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. It is that time of year again. We are well into the school year, and we take time each month to honor our best and brightest students in Henderson County Schools. And this morning we have with us our first Judges Scholar for the 1920 school year, Mr. Kanan Majors of A.B. Chandler. If Kanan will join me right here in front. We're going to read a special proclamation in Kanan's honor, and we're very glad you're with us today. Let me move this podium.
Whereas Kanan Majors has been chosen by A.B. Chandler Elementary School to be recipient of the Judges Scholar Award because he made a choice to accept changes that would benefit his education and well-being, and whereas change is not easy, however, Kanan's ability to embrace change has led to growth that will only further his successes in life. And whereas success is measured in many different ways, whether it be passing a test, scoring the winning point, achieving a particular goal, or taking the necessary steps for overall improvement. And whereas the Henderson County school system could not let Kanan's efforts go unnoticed, and whereas Henderson County Fiscal Court supports the school system and acknowledges these changes as being significant because students such as Kanan Majors will be our future leaders. And now, therefore, I, Brad Schneider, County Judge Executive of Henderson, join with the Henderson County Fiscal Court to proclaim September 10th, 2019 as Kanan Majors Day.
Do you have family members? Need somebody to take a picture? All right, welcome, Kanan. It's good to have a wingman again up here. That guy's straight. Continue with me. I can't let it go. I can't let it go unsaid that it's a bittersweet Judges Scholar presentation today because Cindy Williams, the longtime staff member of Henderson County Schools who helped us with Judges Scholars and came to fiscal court meetings and took pictures and just helped us make that all happen, is no longer with us, and this is the first Judges Scholar since her passing this summer. And so it is a remembrance of her, I think, for a moment. And we're glad to have Megan Mortis with us, kind of taking the helm. But we do remember Cindy in our prayers today. And let the record show, Magistrate McCullum is with us. Good deal. We have Bernard Deckard from the Kentucky Communications Network Authority to give us an update. Let me thank you. Put you to work too. You are new in your position, at least meeting with us, so we're glad you're here. And please tell us what we need to know about the latest on Kentucky Wired.
Kenny, congratulations. It's awesome. So right now, Kentucky Wired, as you know, we've got 6 rings in Kentucky Wired that the state is implementing. The 6 rings we are 3 of the 6 are finished at present. We've got 2 more. So rings 1A, 1B, and 2 are all finished right now, which encompasses the Golden Triangle, Central Eastern Kentucky, Southeastern Kentucky. We will have rings 3 and 5 completed this year, which are Northeastern Kentucky and Central Kentucky, and then we'll be moving to Western Kentucky, and we should be done probably in the springtime of next year completely with Ring 4, which is the area you're all into. And if you all are wondering why Western Kentucky is where it is in this project, to get the project up and running, we had to get Frankfort in first. That's where our central data center and alternate data center in Ring 1A. And then Ring 2, Congressman Rogers brought in quite a bit of dollars to help us get in there. We had to finish that area in a certain time frame to where we could be able to get those dollars. And if you look at the map the way it is, as you go through that and finish, it made logical sense to move this way, because as you complete one ring goes into another ring, so you complete into that ring, and then it moves over. So we should be completely done by spring of next year. Ring 4 will be in place. So what is Kentucky Wired doing? Kentucky Wired is a middle mile network. So what that means is we are bringing in fiber into all 120 counties of Kentucky. Once the fiber is into Kentucky, we are, once again, middle mile. We are last mile into state facilities such as Health and Family Services. We are last mile into the administrative offices of the court. Almost every county clerk's office in Kentucky will have Kentucky Wired going into them. We'll also be in university, and we'll also be in your community and technical colleges. What we are not is a last mile. We are not going to be going into homes and businesses. What we need from you all is we need help with those businesses and homes to find last mile providers to come in and help us. We've got the network built. These last providers will just need to hook in at certain points into the network, into your county, and then they'll be able to run that fiber into your homes. For city and county government, what does that mean? I don't need a last mile provider into city and county governments. I just need city and county governments to participate in the network. We can come out and we can sign an agreement with you and just be an MOA with the city and county governments to where we can be your last mile provider. We have what is called a wholesaler. It's called Open Fiber Kentucky. They are working with us as a partner. They will be our service provider going forward for city and county governments, and they will actually be our service providers for any businesses and homes. They will go out. They're going to be going out and calling on local internet service providers or area co-ops to sell this to them, to get them to participate and then start bringing into homes. So we are actually, you're probably looking at next summer before we'll have construction completed, like I said, in the spring. Then actually turning on the network in this area, it takes about a 3-month lag to get everything passing light, getting all the being able to connect you into the network. It takes about 3 months after construction is completed. So about summer of next year, we will be able to work with county and city governments to bring that high-speed broadband internet into your locations. This is, we signed an agreement I think it was last February is when we finally signed the settlement agreement with the company that you all have read about Kentucky. If you've read about Kentucky Wired, most of what you read is probably not very positive. We've had a lot of construction issues with the vendor that we've been working on. Last year, we signed a settlement agreement. Once that settlement agreement was in place, we kind of worked out all the kinks in the construction and all the issues that we were having. We're having a lot of issues with pole attachment agreements. We've worked through all those issues, and we were probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 5% complete at this time in February. We're over probably around 60% complete with all the construction at this point. So as you can see, once we actually got that in place, we're moving quite fast. So that's kind of where we stand right now. It's very positive right now. I came in about 4 months ago. I actually have been in this administration since the start of the administration. I was actually a chief administrative officer for Health and Family Services. And when Phil Brown left his position as the executive director, the governor asked me to come over and keep running this project. So I've been here about 4 months, and it's been going pretty positive. So, we're transitioning now, my staff, from one of construction to now of one that goes out and let's start selling this and keeping this up and running and bringing it to our communities. So with that, I'm happy to take any
Well, as an
questions.
update, for those of you who might not have followed this issue all along, through Henderson County, the fiber will run along US 60 from Davis County into Henderson County and then through to Union County, and there will also be a line that extends from Henderson along 41 south towards Webster County. So we have those lines in our county. Henderson County is considered a node. We will
Yes.
have a node here, and you can explain what that means if it's significant at all.
So a node is where all the equipment, you run your lines into a node, your fiber into a node, and there are 22 of them in the state of Kentucky. So it is your main flashpoint for being able to distribute it back out. It's kind of bringing it together. So what happens is if you have a break in the line coming in, let's say from the east, you have a break in the line, a squirrel chews it, which sounds weird, but squirrels chew our lines quite a bit. A lion chews there. What's going to happen is that node is going to redirect it west. Or if you have a chew in the west, it's going to redirect it right. So having a node in your area is very important. It kind of keeps the broadband up and running in your area. Kind of, it's a duplicative effort to where it can run it the opposite way if you ever have any problems. So it's a good thing to have it here.
Many of you know we've been working with Q Wireless, which is a wireless internet provider in Henderson County that is the main provider of the Connect Grad system in the Grad counties. They are slowly getting better. They have increased coverage and speeds in Henderson County. They could benefit from Kentucky Wired by connecting in to the fiber line and using that source to broadcast out their signal. Mr. Decker talked about last mile. We are very interested in seeing models of other fairly rural counties who may attempt this last mile effort other than utilizing wireless broadband providers. Actually, wiring up homes to get this service is an expensive proposition because of where they're located out in the hinterlands. It is cost prohibitive, I'm sure, for some counties, but other counties have figured this out in ways. And we're currently working on a grant with Q Wireless to try to help them upgrade their systems, raise their antenna on towers in order to hit more homes. We'll keep you abreast of how we're doing on that grant. But in the meantime, we're also looking for any other options, including utilizing existing utilities to help string last mile cables, including folks like Kenergy and KU, just beginning to broach that idea because they already have the networks of lines and poles built out. That might be an option if Kenergy is interested. They have to decide they want to get into that business. But it could work for them. We'll just have to see. So again, if there's something Kentucky Wired can do to keep us abreast of how other counties are solving this last mile problem, we're very interested.
I'm probably going to need to come back and discuss that with you. So what we're kind of doing right now at our level is we are going to be having a Governor's Blue Ribbon Commission. I know they have those quite a bit, but we're kind of putting together a group of business communities or business leaders in Kentucky to come in. I know that, I believe that Kentucky Farm Bureau is going to be part of that. There's going to be several others, but what we're doing is the last mile is the really hard. I mean, construction was what it was. We knew we would get construction done. It took us longer than we thought it would be. It was harder. Last mile is where the government is not picking up the expense. So we are going to have to come up with ways to entice some of these local providers, some national providers, some people like that to come in and participate in this in local communities such as Henderson. Like I said, we're setting up a commission, and then once we have that commission set, we're going to, hopefully they'll come out with some answers. What we're going to be doing as a agency is we will be coming out to these communities. What we're going to ask, what we'll be doing is having folks such as yourself on, we're going to have roundtable discussions, have people such as yourself on those, business leaders, local internet service providers. Just sit, let's talk, see what you've got here, see what we can help you all with. The USDA is partnering with us quite a bit. They have money available for communities to help them with their internet service providers to get that fiber up and running. Unfortunately, we are working with them right now to change the rules of how to get that dollars. The dollars right now is if you have 10 megs up, 1 meg down, that's where the line is. That's not very much, and I think Henderson as a community probably has better than that. We're trying to get that changed to 25 meg up and 3 down. We'll see how successful we are with that. But we're working in some other areas like that too, where we can help get you all some dollars in rural communities to help bring that into your all's areas. And I think it's going to happen. What we're seeing is communities, you start off in the urban area of your county and you start building there. That's just where it's cost effective. And as you build it in there, you start to build out a little bit. So it takes away some of the cost for the more rural areas as you're going out. So we're hopeful, that kind of spoke type system might help out. We're looking at quite a few. It's already there.
Mr. McCollum, can you turn your mic on, please?
Oh, sorry.
Is there a cost for the service?
For the broadband, yes, not to run it. It's already ran there, but yes, for the service. So it's the rates you're paying right now. It's market rates. What you're paying right now, you're going to get higher speed internet at the same cost you're paying right now is what you're looking at.
So is that something that the county should look at?
We would love the county to look at. Like I said, you're probably about 8-9 months away from actually being able to do that, but this is probably a good time to start talking about it to where this is your pricing, these are your contracts, this is what we would do. And we have, like I said, we have a company called Open Fiber that I'm happy to bring into your all's community to meet with you all about it. A gentleman named Leo Cloutier and a gentleman named John Ferris. They'll come out and meet with you and start getting the conversations going. And this is probably about the time you want the conversations going.
We've got a pipe between here and that building.
Yes.
We've actually, at one time, we ran it that direction. We had the node for the county, for the city here in this building.
Okay.
And we ran fiber over to that building.
Right. Then
and
your cost is going to be greatly reduced.
We could probably run it back over this direction and maybe
Yes,
save
sir.
us some money.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You said it'll be coming to the county clerk's offices as well.
It's going into every county clerk office in Kentucky, except for one that we had some issues with. They kind of
Okay,
didn't want to. And
so it'll be in both buildings.
It's coming here.
it's coming here anyway, so it's
Okay.
already there. It was part of the project as the construction costs that were built in.
Well, and obviously, we're served well by HMP&L's system here. We can, either way, we have good, solid, fast internet. Of course, our concern is folks out in the rural parts of the county where the need is greatest. And again, that was one of my priorities when I became judge, was figuring out this issue, as are many other counties.
Yeah,
It is almost expected infrastructure at this point. And so I'm really appreciative that the Kentucky Wired program, which teetered on the brink of failing, I think,
very much so.
a couple years ago, is now back on track, and we're in the list of things that should get completed within the next 12 months. Our challenge is the last mile, of course. We have private internet providers who serve our county, but for them, they are profit-driven, and rural internet is not very lucrative because of the lack of density. Many people in the county now have chosen to use hotspots on their phones, which solves the problem, but is also very, very expensive. And we're going to try to do the best we can to figure out some sort of method that the county can perhaps participate in to solve this issue.
And as I come around and we do these roundtable discussions, we'll have the USDA on board with us at these meetings. So, and economic development will also be involved in those meetings. So hopefully, we will have some little more answers through USDA. They're really good partners with Kentucky Wired in this whole project.
Will 5G affect this?
5G will. To get 5G, you're going to most likely need the broadband speed that we're bringing into communities to have that be able to.
Well, that's what I'm
reach
thinking.
out.
Can the 5G providers hook on to your
Yes,
all
sir.
stuff so because
Yes,
they can
sir.
spread that out?
Yes,
and
we are an open network. We whoever wants to participate, we're taking all comers. So if you all are not familiar with how this project started, this project was started around state facilities, courts, universities, and school systems. There were some issues with the E-rate dollars that were involved. So those E-rate dollars are not coming into our coffers. So we're eventually, hopefully, they will. We're going to go out and bid for it, and through our partners, we'll bid for that work, and hopefully they'll be able to. But we have a fiscal hole in Kentucky Wired that we need to fill, and the way we're going to fill it is working with private partners. I can go to all the state, county, city governments that I want to. It's not going to. It won't pay for this network. What I need is private partners.
Have you talked to AT&T and Verizon?
We have, yeah.
Okay,
we
because
continue to talk to them.
They're going to need something beside the cell towers they
They
have for the
will.
5G.
MetroNet also.
Yeah.
There's we're talking to quite a few people right now, and this is early stages. A lot of people didn't think this project was going to get completed, so people kind of backed off of it for a while. But now everybody's seeing that completion is coming, and we're pretty close to it. I mean, we're 5 years into this project. Now we're within 9 months of it, or probably 6 months of construction being totally done. So we're to the point now where we're having serious conversations about bringing this into communities.
Can I make a suggestion on your negotiations with large providers like Spectrum and AT&T? If they are able to utilize this service, which is paid for up to this point by taxpayers,
Yes, sir.
that they make a commitment to use their access to this line to reach rural residents.
That's what we're driving towards.
Because I think they'll probably benefit in some way cost-wise utilizing this instead of laying their own in these areas. I may
Without
be
a
wrong.
doubt. Without a
So
doubt.
with that kind of benefit, the least they can do is commit to help solve this issue along with the state and counties.
And I mean, it's not the cities that broadband is the issue.
Yeah.
It's the rural communities. It's the issue. That's the reason this network was built. That is our focus, is getting this to the rural areas.
If the AT&T and Verizon build off of this for the 10G, 10G is 100 times faster than what your current 4G phone is, where the hotspots are. It will solve the problem for the people in the county.
As long as we can get it to them.
As long as you can get it to them, yeah.
Mr. Decker, quick question. You said your network is an open network.
Open
or-
access, yes,
Open
sir.
access. So if, you asked us to talk to last mile type folks, is that, if there are multiple ones, is that okay? Is there a bid
Yes.
process, or is it
No,
just a flat
it
rate
is-
for
it-
whomever?
I have like I said, I have a company called Open Fiber. We went through the procurement process. That's that is kind of the purpose of a P3 partnership, to where you get away from the bid. You go through the bid process, but then you have a private provider out there actually selling this for you, actually going out to communities trying to sell this to private entities. There's no bid process. You just have to pay to get onto our network.
Gotcha.
And we're setting those at market rates. I mean, we know what the market bears in different areas, so we're setting it at market rate.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I know the rural magistrates get this question all the time,
This
and,
week
and
I had-
please let folks know that we're working as diligent as we can. There are several options here, none of which are easy,
No.
some of which have more cost involved and need the county's help in some fashion. But we're working on it, and I'm glad to know Kentucky Wired is progressing as well. So thank you very much for being
Thank
here.
you all.
Good luck in your job.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate
And
it.
we'll see you again soon, I hope.
Can you keep up the good work?
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Next, we have Casey Phillips, County Clerk's Office, going to give us an update on election training.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Renisa just wants to ask for approval for some extra election worker pay. It is in the budget, but due to us having new machines and the training we are going to have to give them, that would make the training for the e-poll books. I don't know if you're familiar, the e-poll books that we received from the state. We are adding 16 new precincts to the list that will have these instead of the paper rosters, and it's going to take extra training, which before we started with 2, then we went to 6, and now we're going to 22 total, and that's 16 extra precincts where the workers need to be paid. Need to have extra training, and she felt the need to possibly pay them a little extra to come to a separate training than what they already trained for, and she just wants approval. It's $15 for each person to come. It's going to last probably around an hour and a half to 2 hours. Additional training, not our original that we already, everything's in the budget for. It's going to be about $660, she thinks, and she just wants approval from you guys.
Make a motion to approve.
I second it.
Let me ask before we begin, though. Take a vote. Number one, did you say you have money in your budget?
That's what she said.
It's a budgeted item. Let me get Brenda Ryder to come on up, double check this.
She says she has the money in the budget. I
Okay.
don't know.
Currently, there is $63,000 in the election officer's work line, if you will, and she budgeted for all of her elections at budget time with a little bit of addition. So at this time, I see it in the budget.
I don't think we need to approve this separately. I just think she needs to go ahead and make it part of her budget. Normal claims.
It'll only be a one-time. It might
Yeah,
happen the
that's fine.
second time, if the state ever provides us the rest of the e-poll books.
I appreciate her asking, but she really doesn't need a vote of the court to spend within her budget, other than putting it in claims and having us approve the claim. Unless anybody has any questions about this.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah. I appreciate her asking, but if she's got it budgeted, that's fine. And come back with the exact dollar amount. Just you'll make it a claim, as it's an ongoing claim too, because it'll charge as we do training. Or are you going to buy a bunch of these ebooks right off the bat? Or
No. The state provided them. Initially, we were told at the state level, their Secretary of State's office, that we would have 2 per precinct. Well, when it came down to it, and I'm not involved in this like Renisa is, I know that we did not get 2 per precinct. We got 1 per precinct. Renisa refuses to go countywide until she can have a backup, which would be 2 per precinct. It's the e-poll book instead of a paper roster is what it is. It's
Right.
awesome. It's very fast. It's awesome, but she does not want to go countywide until she can have 2 per precinct. And so we are using all that we have this election. We went to the first election, 6 last election, and we're going 22 precincts this election. And she, at this point, does not want to go countywide until she finds out if the state's going to provide the rest of them or what's going to happen. So
if in the end this ends up may be exceeding that budget line item, you can come back and transfer some money around to make sure it happens. It sounds like absolutely legitimate, and so just keep us posted. Otherwise, full speed ahead.
Okay. Thank
Is
you.
everybody satisfied with that?
Yes.
So we will table that motion and that.
Well, I'll
That's
just
second.
remove my second.
That's fine.
I think that was fairly close to parliamentary procedure there, but Steve's laughing at that. Okay, thank you. Next, we have two resolutions related to, one for county surplus.
Computer equipment. From Brent.
This is from our IT department. Extraneous computers, is that correct, Mr. Jacobs? I'll have the clerk read the resolution declaring it surplus property.
A resolution declaring certain county property to be surplus and providing for the disposition thereof. Whereas the Henderson Fiscal Court is the owner of certain personal property that is no longer of use to the county, whereas pursuant to KRS 67.0802, the Fiscal Court finds that it is in the best interest of the county to deem the property as surplus and provide for the disposition thereof. Whereas the Henderson Fiscal Court wishes to offer the said personal property be sold by public auction in accordance with the law at the discretion of the Henderson County Judge Executive. Now therefore be it resolved by the Fiscal Court, County of Henderson, as follows. Pursuant to KRS 67.0802, the personal property on the list attached hereto and incorporated herein is hereby declared to be surplus. It shall be sold at a duly advertised online auction pursuant to all applicable laws at such time and place in such a manner as shall be arranged by the County Judge Executive unless otherwise noted. The County Judge Executive or his designee is hereby authorized to make said arrangements.
Anybody have any questions of Mr. Jacobs? Entertain a motion to declare this property as surplus.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. And any other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, now we have two resolutions related to County Attorney's Office, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Gold to give a briefing on these.
All right, Judge, we have two resolutions. I'll take them one by one. The first one, you all may recall, in the county budget, you did a grant to the child support program based on the fact that the federal government is doing a 2/3 match for any locally expended funds. And a few weeks ago, we were able to return about, I think it was $22,000 or so through that federal match to the fiscal court. So that's working. And I wanted to make sure that federal match was actually working before we touched any of the county budget with it. So it is working. We actually have our second round of request for that federal match on that, on things like utilities and things like that should help with the expenses in this building. So in the county budget, you had set aside money that would have allowed us to hire a full-time assistant county attorney dedicated just to child support matters. And that's something that we've wanted for quite a while, because that is a very important aspect of our office, but it does take up a lot of bandwidth. So this is going to be a way that we're going to be able to get one paid for, essentially 2/3 by the federal government. We put this out for resumes. We were hoping to get some local attorneys interested. The idea of doing child support all day, every day, apparently was not that enticing to local attorneys. But we were fortunate enough to have a young lady originally from Madisonville who's been working in the child support office in Jefferson County, the busiest and probably craziest child support office in the state, who was interested in coming back closer to home. So she is interested. We have interviewed her and selected her to fill that position. And this resolution would set her salary at the sum of $47,500 beginning September 16, 2019, and allow the treasurer to make the appropriate line item transfers out of that budgeted item to make that occur. And I think we had a discussion a few weeks ago, Manager McCollum, we were talking about making sure everybody did, that needed to, did resolutions on appointments and rate settings. And I said, I always do this right, so I try, I try to do it. So I figured I'd take my own advice here, do that.
Can I ask, who will pay the other third?
Well, the other 1/3 comes from that county line item.
So the county's paying 1/3 of it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The reason I bring that up, and it's another way the state is pushing the counties to pay for things the state should pay for. I want you to know that the state gets 66% of all their child support stuff paid for and collected. They also receive incentive money. The state does. Martha Lane Collins had a conference at back in the 80s because why was Kentucky so bad in child support collection? And the reason was the state was not sharing the incentive money, which is what the federal government says they should do. They should do it with the people that are doing the work. And so Martha Lane changed that. And the child support collections zoomed up. We were collecting here less than $200,000, and we went up over $200,000 each year for 24 years till it was, $6 million or so. Then the state in the late 90s, they needed to come up with money to pay for their share of their cost for child support collection. So they confiscated all the incentive money that was going to the county attorney's office. And at that time, they promised the county attorneys they would fully fund everything the county attorneys needed. And they haven't done that. So they're pushing this down on us. Now we're going to have to subsidize the state of Kentucky for child support collection. The state of Kentucky should be paying this. They are getting incentive monies for every dollar Steve collects, they get 3%, I believe. And it's not right. I mean, I'm for this. I mean, it's for our citizens need the services. I'm not arguing against that, but it's something about it's just not right. The state, I mean, they've cut the state police post, and now our sheriff's office has to do that work. I mean, these things, somewhere it's got to stop. The state needs to do their job. Our legislators need to raise the revenue to pay our retirement and to pay for the things that they deem appropriate for us to do in our state. I don't know of any other state that has done what Kentucky has done to the child support collection system. It's a travesty. So anyway, that's my 2 cents worth of things.
And that has been borne out in the state's collection numbers across the state. And, you know, we've been somewhat successful here in Henderson trying to keep that slide that's happened statewide from happening here. And this is an effort to do that. Yeah, I've asked on several occasions to multiple child support enforcement commissioners why children, they spend more money on collecting child support for children in some counties than others. And they've never had a particularly good answer for that.
Right. It's not based on population. It's not based on collection rates or who does the best. We were collecting maybe $1 million or so more than one of our neighboring counties, and they were getting more money than we were getting, and we were doing more work.
But I do think this, having a full-time dedicated child support attorney is going to have a major impact in Henderson and on what we're able to collect. Like I said, our numbers are pretty good now, but they can always be better, and I think this is a step toward making that happen, and it's going to be good for the children and families in Henderson.
It is, but once again, keep in mind when you're looking at our budget, that 24% we're paying towards the retirement, which is going to go to 27% next year, we're going to have to cover it. And the health insurance, I'm assuming about $20,000 a year, we're going to have to cover it, at least a third of those costs.
And we did include those numbers for including this position on our budget
Yeah.
prior to that, so that should work out. And that was, we were able to actually, from last year's budget year over year, we were actually able to go down in our budget a little bit and still account for this. So, you know, I think it should end up being a relatively high bang for the buck impact for the county.
And it's a really high bang for the buck for the Cabinet for Families and Children.
Absolutely.
Because you don't have to buy 2 sets of law books. You don't have to buy, I mean, Steve covers those costs with other monies.
Any other questions? We'll have the clerk read the resolution.
A resolution regarding personnel actions in the Henderson County Attorney's Office. Whereas the County Attorney's Office contracts with the Cabinet for Health and Family Services to administer the Child Support Enforcement Program in Henderson County. Whereas pursuant to state and federal guidelines, the local government may seek reimbursement from the state and of federal government for 2/3, 66.66% of allowable expenses made for the administration of the Child Support Enforcement Program. Whereas the Henderson County Fiscal Court appropriated funds in the fiscal year 2020 budget for a grant to the Henderson County Attorney's Child Support Enforcement Program to supplement the operation of said program. Whereas the county attorney has presented a plan to hire a full-time assistant county attorney with the aforementioned funds, who shall be responsible for the administration of the Child Support Division and the supervision of the staff therein. Whereas pursuant to KRS 67.7107, the approval of the fiscal court is necessary for the appointment of county employees, and pursuant to KRS 64.530, the fiscal court must fix the reasonable compensation of every county officer and employee except those named in KRS 64.535. Now therefore be it resolved by the Fiscal Court, County of Henderson, Kentucky as follows. 1. Pursuant to KRS 67.7101 and KRS 64.530, the County Judge Executive and the Henderson Fiscal Court hereby approves the County Attorney's appointment of Hillary Landrip as an Assistant County Attorney and fixes her reasonable compensation at the sum of $47,500 per year effective September 16, 2019. And number 2, the Henderson County Treasurer is hereby authorized to make the appropriate transfers from the Child Support Grant line item to effectuate the intent of this resolution.
I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. The next resolution, Mr. Moon.
Okay. As some of you may be aware, Assistant County Attorney Nicole Bachman, who is a part-time Assistant County Attorney, has left our office to continue teaching the criminal law program at Henderson County High School. On one hand, it's kind of sad that I lost out on paying an attorney to take teacher's pay, but it consolidated her down to just one job. And I think that that is something good for her and her family. And with that, she was a part-time assistant county attorney. And what we've done is, rather than seeking another part-time assistant county attorney, we've come up with a plan within the office to reallocate her duties out among the staff and basically just pile a little more on a couple of folks as far as their work duties, and seeking to redistribute a portion of her salary there. And so that's what this is doing. Ashley Hampton, who several of you know, and Lawson Lambert would be receiving a little bit of an increase in their county pay in order to do that. And the sums you see in these in this resolution would be their total salary from the county. This is not an additional of that amount. It's the total amount they receive from the county for that. And I believe Magistrate Putman met Lawson last night talking about animal control ordinances for several hours. So
Done an excellent job.
So that's what this is. It's just redistributing that money. So we're going to go down about a third of a time person, and expect more hours out of Lawson and Ashley.
Steve, are they paid by the state?
Partially, yes.
So, but the state will cover their health insurance?
State covers the health insurance and all the benefits that way.
Okay, so we don't have this is just strictly salary then?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, I'm not 100% sure with Brenda. It's whatever benefits that Nicole was receiving, but she was very part-time, so. Yeah.
No, you'd have to pay Social Security on it and that kind of stuff, but other than that did, yeah. Okay.
I'll have the clerk read the resolution.
A resolution regarding personnel actions in the Henderson County Attorney's Office. Whereas the Henderson County Attorney's Office has experienced the resignation of a part-time assistant county attorney due to full-time employment opportunity within the school system. Whereas the Henderson Fiscal Court deems it in the best interest of the Henderson County to maintain adequate staffing levels in the Henderson County Attorney's Office. Whereas pursuant to KRS 64.530, the Fiscal Court must fix the reasonable compensation of every county officer and employee except those named in KRS 64.535, and whereas the county attorney has presented a plan to reallocate the duties of said part-time assistant between two existing assistant county attorneys to compensate said employees for the additional county-related duties and responsibilities, the county attorney requests to reallocate the remaining salary between said employees. Now therefore be resolved by the Fiscal Court, County of Henderson, Kentucky as follows. 1. Pursuant to KRS 64.530, the Henderson Fiscal Court hereby fixes the reasonable compensation of Ashley Hampton, second assistant county attorney, at the sum of $20,545 per year effective September 16, 2019. Number 2, pursuant to KRS 64.530, the Henderson Fiscal Court hereby fixes the reasonable compensation of Lawson Lambert, assistant county attorney, at the sum of $12,730 per year effective September 16, 2019.
And before we go any further, I want to make sure that, when I said it was kind of disappointing losing out an employee to the school system for teacher salary, it's nothing about, teachers aren't paid enough as it is, but it's just a point that attorneys don't make what everybody thinks they make. That's kind of the point. But I do think this is also going to help us with retention. Both Ashley and Lawson are incredible attorneys and have been big contributors to our office, and I think this is going to help with retention there.
Thank you, Steve. So do we have a motion to accept that resolution?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Now we're going to have second reading of our tax rates for 2019. As a reminder, county tax rates reflected here, Henderson County government tax rates have unchanged for the fourth straight year in a row. Proud of that. The other taxing entities, you'll see their rates there as well. We've already accepted those once, and now we'll have second reading by the clerk.
Henderson County Fiscal Court tax rates for 2019. The property assessment has been now certified by the Commonwealth of Kentucky Department of Revenue, Office of Property Evaluation, and permissible ad valorem tax rates and revenue for fiscal year 2019-2020 established for Henderson County in accordance with KRS 68.245 through 68.249. Be it ordered by the Fiscal Court of the County of Henderson, Commonwealth of Kentucky, that the following tax rates for the 2019-2020 are set. The rate per 100, real property, 12.8 cents. Revenue expected, $2,910,824. Personal property rate, 18.4 cents. Revenue expected, $480,310. Motor vehicles rate, 8.5 cents. Revenue expected, $290,677. Public service company real estate, rate 11.8 cents. Revenue expected, $49,541. Public service company personnel, 17.5 cents. Expected revenue, $368,229. Watercraft rate of 8.5 cents. Revenue expected, $11,744. Further, be it ordered that a 3 cents per acre tax be levied on all privately owned timberland in Henderson County, which is required to be listed for taxation and credited to the Forest Fire Protection Account.
Entertain a motion to approve second reading of those tax rates.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other comments, questions? Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Master Southern,
Aye.
Master Moran,
Aye.
Master Putman,
Aye.
Master Berry,
Aye.
Master McCollum,
Aye.
and Judge Schneider.
Aye. Okay, Mr. Gold, your report.
Judge, I've got a couple of checks today. First is $450 in jail fees collected and interest in the amount of $55.15, bringing today's total to $505.15, and the fiscal year total to date, $44,138.63. Could you hand that to the judge for me? Thank you.
Thank you, Canaan, for not keeping that check. Motion to accept the county attorney's report.
I move we accept that check from the county attorney's office, Judge.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Treasurer Brenda Ryder, please come up. We have a couple transfers.
The transfer in the general fund, as addressed earlier by the county attorney, Mr. Gold, transferring $47,500 to the assistant county attorney salary appropriation line from the child support grant appropriation line.
Motion to approve that transfer.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any other comments? Again, this is related to the resolution we just passed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Anything else, Ms. Ryder?
I have one claim in the general fund, issuing a check to Packers Sanitation Services Incorporated Limited in the amount of $3,182. This is from the refunds appropriation line. This is a reimbursement of the net profits tax, which was originally paid, and this company is no longer in business.
Motion to approve that
So
claim.
why was it paid?
This was by recommendation of the tax administrator through the city.
It may be paid to us in error.
Okay.
I can check on that further.
Brenda, could you repeat? It was Packer Sanitation. Could you just read it one more time for me?
Packers Sanitation Services Incorporated Limited, or LTD.
And this is a recommended refund from Occupational Tax Administrator Brent Hebner.
Yes, that was calculated by the city.
I think it was just done in error. Yeah.
I don't have enough information to
Yeah.
make a decision, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you
If-
know?
If I could give you some, I'm not sure about this particular thing, but right now, with the transition between the city and county, there's been some overlay as far as things have been going through the city that end up coming over to the county and vice versa. We get some checks in that end up going back to the city. So it may have been the case of one check was written out that came to us that should have gone to the city.
Yeah.
Because that's been happening a number of times lately till we get this.
I received a
division.
calculation sheet from the city with the directive from Mr. Hebner. So
I think they're trying to keep track of these things, and
I know
there will be some corrections made as we go.
It's sort of a mess with the way it is, but it'll get better.
Untangling it, yeah.
So we're refunding the city for
no, we're refunding Packer
or Packer
Sanitation.
Sanitation for overpayment
That
but
Evidently.
went to the city
may have gone to the city, forwarded to the county.
And then they're no longer in business.
Yes, sir.
So who are we writing a check to?
Can we put this off till 2 weeks and get a better understanding?
I can ask for more
Yeah.
clarification.
You might check and see if Mr. Hepner's in his office. Okay. Meanwhile, if you wouldn't mind, we can go to the good of the county real quick and revisit this. Bring you back up. Would anybody like to speak for good of the county? You can come up to the mic and. Okay. If it's your preference, we can table this.
I'd like to table it till next meeting, if that's all right with everybody else.
And for future reference, it may be good to have him provide a little bit more explanation when he submits one of these, just so we know what that's all about. Okay, thank you. Mr. Hubiak, County Engineer.
Morning.
Morning.
I would like to entertain a question of the fiscal court at this time for the Henderson County Road Department to be able to purchase a new cat truck mower. It's a line item budget that we have in this year's fiscal budget. It would be purchased off of the state contract, and also to go out for bid for a single axle dump truck for the county road department, another item that is budgeted for this fiscal year.
I don't think we need to give you permission for the first item. It's a budgeted item.
Appreciate you asking.
Yeah,
Me too.
However, the bid process, you're going to do sealed bids?
Yes, sir.
I do think we need a motion to go to sealed bids on any item if you prefer to, because we have to go through the process of advertising it and other formalities. So,
Well, for the record, if Bill feels comfortable, I make a motion that you go out for the sealed bid on the truck and the purchase of the, what was it?
Single axle dump truck.
Got that one, but what was
Truck cat.
Truck cat.
Mower.
Yes.
Second.
we have a motion and a second to go to sealed bid on the dump truck. You'll be submitting the line item, the expense on the truck cat. It's part of your line item. But, so we have a motion and a second for that sealed bid process to begin. Any other questions?
How long will it take to get the truck cat?
The truck cat, I don't know. We only source the pricing of it right now, so, I mean, yeah, we would want to expedite it. I don't know if they have one on the ground.
Your plan on the truck cat is to buy it from a state contract
Yes, sir.
provider, yeah, which
Yes.
doesn't require a bid process.
Yeah.
So we have a motion and a second on taking the dump truck out to bid. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Anything
Thank you.
else?
Nope. Thank you very much.
On Mr. Hubiak's behalf, I will say to the whole court that the Ohio Drive project is moving forward on schedule, actually a little ahead of schedule. We've had consistent meetings with the businesses on Ohio Drive to make sure they're appraised of where the project stands and how their businesses may be impacted in the near future. All has gone well. The communication's been good. Appreciate Mr. Hubiak and Kindle staffer Whitney Risley working hard with the businesses there to make sure they know what's happening next, and pleased with what's happened so far. Any other folks who'd like to speak for the good of the county? Magistrate Southard?
First off, I'd like to say congratulations, Kanan. That's you're representing your whole school today. That says a lot. And they picked you from your whole school. That says a whole lot. So keep up the good work. I'm sure your family's proud. I know I would be. And everything's good in the third.
And we appreciate Magistrate Southard hosting Canaan and family for lunch. I understand Mr. B's is your pick. So make sure you get everything you want, because when you're done with lunch, you got to go back to school, so draw it out a little bit. And as Steve Gold often says, load up on the desserts. Don't be afraid. So congratulations again. Magistrate Moran.
I agree. Congratulations, Cannon, and good job. And keep up the good work. All's well in District 2.
Magistrate Putman.
Thank you, Judge. Well, I think Magistrate Southern hit the nail on the head by saying, when you're selected out of the whole school, it's a pretty big deal. I know y'all probably think it is, so I would, but when you look at the entirety of the thing, it's just such an honor. And it's an honor for us, for you to be here today and to receive a resolution as we have all the scholars. There's a lot of us been around for a long time, and I don't guess we've ever done enough good work that warranted anything like that. So I think that in itself speaks volumes to what you've contributed to your school and your schoolmates. Does he have any siblings at home?
3.
Oh, he's the youngest?
No, he's number 3.
Wow. So you see the bar has went way up here for your brothers and sisters. So, but anyway, just congratulations. Get double dessert on Tim. And Judge, all's good and forth.
Magistrate McCullough.
Kane and I would also like to congratulate you, and I appreciate you being here, and I'm proud for your family. Two things I'd like to say. Last night, someone talked to me about complaining about the Wi-Fi. They're in the Niagara area. They bought a house out there, and the predecessor had Wi-Fi through AT&T. But when they canceled their phone service, AT&T, because they're so congested, they would not let them get back on the AT&T program. So I think this is a step in the right direction, what we're doing, and I just wanted to bring that up about the need of that. And then when we're passing our taxes and we see our ditch taxes and stuff like that, we made a terrible mistake in the 70s, not any of us here, but Union County and Henderson County had an opportunity. The Corps of Engineers came in and did a study about our ditches and so forth, and to set a tax rate to pay for keeping those ditches clean and taking care of them. The Union County people voted to do that. I have a farm on Highland Creek, and I pay a small fee. It's worth every penny of it. We made a big mistake, and I don't know that the Corps would ever go back and try to set that up again. But we had some farmers here in Henderson County who live on the hills. But I think as a responsible person, if my water's going down on somebody else, I've got a responsibility to help get it on through to get to the river. I mean, even if it's not, you know, and I just wish there was some way we could go back and relook at that, because once it was in place, I mean, they keep that creek clean. There's no stags in it. It is, I mean, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
It was the right thing to do, and we stepped on our own foot when we did that. But anyway.
You're talking about a county-wide ditch tax as opposed to what we have in place, which is small districts of properties basically adjacent to the creeks, which produces much less money.
Yeah, it
and
does.
and actually not. It's the way it's levied. It's not laid out fairly. Just like he said, just because you live on top of the hill don't mean you're not using the ditch.
Right.
And that's the problem we have with our taxing district on the ditches.
Right. And it's not overly burdensome for, I mean, it's based on the number of acres that I have in the drainage. It was done in a nice, fair way. I mean, I don't know, it may be $50 a year or whatever, but it's worth every penny of it. I mean, to have your ditch kept clean, I mean, Highland Creek used to back up all the time. And now it'll back up when the Ohio River's up, but other than that, it flows, it gets the job done, and the farmers can get in and get back in and do their crops if they get, done. I just wish we would have had the foresight to have done the same thing.
We are able to do some ditch cleaning with the money that's generated with our system, but not nearly as much, right. and probably not as much as needed.
What they've done in the committee and Buzzy and them has been awesome. I mean,
Flood Mitigation Board.
Yes, and and we've seen what cleaning out Canoe Creek has done. But, I mean, we still have some problems on Airline Road in that area, and getting that ditch that comes on around by the police state post and getting through some private property. That we got people that don't want to let them in and get that cleaned up. And I think we had an eagle problem for a while, but I think that got corrected. The eagle left. So, but, anyway. But everything else is good in the fifth. Thanks.
Mr. Berry.
All right, Kane, and I want to congratulate you. It's hard to say anything on top of what the other magistrates have already said, but I think you realize hard work is paying off. And I think hard work always does, and it'll continue to do that. Don't you think? Good. Congratulations. And eat a bunch today. Tim likes to eat, and he'll feed you well.
Are you taking up a collection, Tim?
We're trying to spend your money, Tim. One other thing, the August 27th meeting, the Humane Society came and give us the report on the parvo. They had a big parvo outbreak out there, and they needed bleach. And after the court meeting that day, I was able to talk to a friend of mine who has the right connections at Brentag, I would say, wouldn't you, Judge? Mm-hmm. And within 10 minutes, they had given the Humane Society 3 55-gallon drums of bleach, like 165 gallons. Not only they donated that, but they delivered it the next morning, and I think that pretty well took care of the Humane Society, and we're grateful to Brentag for that. That was a great thing, so it helped them tremendously. With that, I think District 1's good.
Mr. Gold.
Thank you, Judge. And again, Kanan, congratulations. It got me thinking about when Magistrate Berry was talking about community and how our community really comes together. And when something happens and our neighbors in our community need help, Henderson does that. And I know that's the kind of thing they teach you out there at Chandler, right? To help other people. And I know that you've done that because you wouldn't be here if you weren't. And I just think it's a big deal that today, it's been declared to be your day. That's a pretty darn big deal. And I know you're going to Mr. B's. And yes, I always do say get double dessert, but that's not healthy. But, maybe Magistrate Southard will, pay for you to play one of those video games or something like that. See, I'm just finding more ways to twist the knife there. But congratulations to you.
And corn's at $3.50 a bushel, too.
Yeah.
I'll join the chorus and congratulate Kanan. Congratulations to your parents and grandparents. It's not easy raising kids, especially 4 of them, and so it's as much a reflection of your effort as it is of Kanan's. Thank all the folks at Chandler. It's an excellent school, terrific school out in our county. We're very proud of them, and you're a great representative of them, Kanan, but it is a responsibility, now that you're a judge's scholar, to continue to uphold that standard and keep moving forward. Make sure that you're always worthy of the award, and I'm sure you will be. And good luck at Mr. B's. If you've ever eaten a big lunch, today's the day. But thank you again for being here. A couple things. We had a visit yesterday from Derek Ramsey, who's Secretary of Workforce and Education for the state of Kentucky. It was a good visit. He had a lot of bullet points about things the state is doing to help counties with workforce issues, and every county in Kentucky has workforce issues. There are tens of thousands of open positions in Kentucky, jobs that are unfulfilled. And that's a problem, because if your state gains a reputation as not being able to provide the necessary workforce, companies stop coming, and that only makes it worse. So it's a challenge for all of Kentucky at a time when Kentucky is doing a terrific job in gaining some attention from international corporations and drawing them to our state for other reasons, cheap cost of operations and logistics, location, and many other things that make our state an advantageous place to land. But workforce will always be a key. You can only produce or provide value when your employees help you do that. So the good news is in Henderson County, we are taking steps in cooperation with the school system and the community college and employers to try to improve our pipeline and improve our overall skill set and encourage younger folks, especially who for whatever reason are not in the workforce, to get in the workforce and achieve some dreams simply by starting. That seems to be the biggest hurdle, is just getting them to begin. And hopefully that'll show some rewards here in the near future. One of the meetings that Mr. Ramsey held, Secretary Ramsey held, was with a current participant in Henderson County Community College. Henderson Community College's FAME program, which is an innovative apprenticeship program that includes both an academic and a on-the-job training component, and as well as a current participant in that program, both a graduate and a current participant. Give you an example. The young man who had just graduated the program went right to work, chose to go right to work for Audubon Metals. While he was in the program, he made $13.50 an hour, which for any teenager is a pretty good wage. And upon graduation and beginning as an industrial maintenance tech at Audubon Metals, now makes well over $20 an hour as a 20-year-old, and has the opportunity to improve on that salary even more. And if he moves for whatever reason, that kind of certification, industrial maintenance, as Mr. Southard, Magistrate Southard, well knows, can transfer anywhere. He can get a job anywhere and just about write his ticket. That is the sort of program which not only helps fill that pipeline and helps kids create careers where they might not think it's possible, but also becomes an example to current high school age kids that maybe there's a path for them, even if they don't want to attend college after high school. So I know I'm preaching to the choir some about this, but it's a vital part of the future of Henderson County. Skilled trades, people really want to go to work. will only feed the economy here and the businesses that choose to land here or grow here. So it was a good visit. I'm glad he came. We have a lot of great events coming up in the fall. I encourage everybody to check out all the great things that are happening, both out in the county where it's almost burgoo season and rib season and things like that. But we're also almost to harvest season. And I know our road department is working hard to be as accommodating as possible to our farmers as they go through this very important time of year. We pray that the weather holds up or at least acts like they want it to, and that we do all we can to make sure that process goes smoothly. We had a lot of flooding in parts of the United States that normally produce a lot of our grain, and it set them back. At the same time, our part of the world had better experience, so the Midwest and especially the Ohio Valley is kind of being counted on to take up the slack, and hopefully that is reflected in prices. Maybe not, but at least the focus has been on what Western Kentucky and in the region can produce. So good luck, and hope all of our farmers out there have good experience this harvest season. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor can leave.